Hello and welcome to episode 16 of Cherries in Focus. It took 181 days, but Bournemouth finally got a Premier League win again. It was massive for the fans, massive for the team, massive for Andoni Iraola. We're not going to get carried away, but we're going to enjoy this moment. I've got John, Steve and Matt with me. You need to subscribe to Cherries Red Army. If you're new around here, please do hit the like button on this video. We are live and interactive on YouTube and Twitter. So do tell us, wherever you are in the world, get in the chat, say hello, and let's have a good stream. John, this feels like it'll be a little bit better. It's been nice. We've been waiting for this.
Yeah, I think we've all deserved this. I think after a couple of days short of half a year without a league win, it's about time we got that sweet feeling of 3 points again. And yeah, it's there's caveats. There's got to consider the opposition, but you've got to enjoy you've got to enjoy the good times while they're there.
It was another rainy day at Dean Court, Steve, but there's nothing better than seeing a green tick on the Premier League board, and we're outside that relegation zone.
Yeah, want to see as many green ticks as we can from now on, and no umbrellas, no matter how wet it is. Don't want to see any umbrellas. No, it was a good one. Yeah, let's not get carried away, like we say, but it's been a long time coming. We've had our hopes dashed on a few occasions so far this season. Look at likes of Brentford game, and we thought we might get something at Liverpool, and then it all fell apart. And it's kind of like we've really, like John said, we do deserve this. There's like 10,000 fans in that stadium that deserved it because they've stuck with the manager and they've stuck with the boys. And yeah, it was nice to see.
Fantastic. Matt, good to see you as well. And I also saw James Musselwhite outside and inside the stadium on Saturday. He's a Bournemouth fan, and he said to me he was relieved that we got the win because it meant that our previous record of going 14 league games without a win in 1974, we ain't going to equal that. And that was when Harold Wilson, I think, was Prime Minister. So James was over the moon with that. Great to see you again, Matt, and you were there as well.
I was indeed, Kirk. Yeah, great. I'm impressed with your modern history knowledge there, Kirk.
It was James. All James.
Or did you get that from James? Yeah, Harold Wilson. Before
I
our
don't
time.
know who Harold Wilson is.
I know Harry Wilson.
Ex-Prime Minister in the 70s, Steve. Come on. Thought you'd remember him. No, it's before our time. But yeah, it was great to be there on Saturday, and obviously great to get a win. I was in row B of the North Stand, so I got absolutely soaked, to be honest. So if we hadn't have won on Saturday, I'd have been very, very pissed off. But excuse my language. But we got it done. It wasn't pretty at times, was it? But it was all about the 3 points on Saturday. And yeah, I forgot what the winning feeling was like. And to see the scoreboard with the fruit machine cherries coming up and 3 points is it was a nice feeling. 5 o'clock Saturday. Well, it's probably about 5:15, wasn't it, with the VAR check?
Absolutely. Let's see who's joining us. We've got Paul from Australia, Chris Hubble. Good to see you in the North Stand on Saturday. Thank you very much. Liam Travers. We've got Omid. Thank you for joining us. We've got Wing. We've got finally a good evening. Yes, Alan. We've got Ollie Windsor. Thank you very much for also recognising our tweet on social media. We've got AFC Bournemouth, Germany, Cameron Meach, Mark Singleton. Good to see you again inside the North Stand. Mark Cole, Carol Toller. Hope you're doing well. Wayne Walden, Fulham fan, but enjoys these streams. And Paul, also great to see you inside the Ted Mack tent before the game. Thank you very much. Great conversations. Really good point before we get stuck on to the win, though, to talk about some really good stuff from fans outside of the stadium before the game. 3 really kind Bournemouth fans come up to me and just express, guys, how much they love the channel, the content, even through the tough weeks that we've had. They're really enjoying the variety, the different conversations and the way we're plugging through. So thank you very much for that. Also want to take this opportunity to thank the monthly members straight away because it's growing week on week. So thank you to anyone who's joined the current monthly members. You can support the channel at buymeacoffee.com/Cherries Red Army. We're here, win, lose or draw. We'll get on with it. We'll talk about it and we'll help the team and the fans get through this season. We will, because that was results for Andoni Iraola. You'll see that Bournemouth beat Burnley 2-1 on Saturday, and that meant that we went outside of the relegation zone. And it was 2-1 on the day. You'll see the stats coming up on the screen. And it was a few decisions that Andoni had to make leading up to kickoff, guys, with the lineups. We heard that Neto picked up an injury. We called Stoke City and got Mark Travers back. We recalled him. Radu started. Lloyd Kelly was at left back. Chris Mepham came back into the side. And Steve, it wasn't the start we wanted, but we grew into the game again. We plugged our way through it. Semenyo showed how direct and how he likes to have a shot. Previously, we see that earlier on in the season. Phil Billings' 42 yards was the winner, and it was 2-1. Just about, as Matt said, VAR made us wait a little bit, but it was a great feeling when that full-time whistle went.
Yeah, go back to the pre-game, and we saw the lineups. You said like some difficult decisions, and obviously we've heard about the likes of Neto's injury, and then we've got sort of Chris Mepham coming back in. So it looks like we've got 3 centre backs. I think it was Owen, your son, that sort of made a good point that maybe it could have been a formation change. We could have been looking at 3 at the back with sort of Tavernier and Aarons as the wing backs, and maybe 2 up top in Semenyo alongside Dom. But, you know, so there was lots of conversations beforehand about what we're going to see. But actually, it turned out to be the same old formation with Kelly at left back, who I thought, might I say, was absolutely impeccable all afternoon. It was at Koleosho he had to, he really looked after him well. He didn't give him anything. But we said that, you know, you've got some players coming in like Mepham, Radu, haven't had any really, you know, much of a game so far, and they were both in, you know, didn't put a foot wrong, were great. Albeit, you know, the level of opposition's not the same as what we've been playing in previous weeks. I must admit, I thought Burnley were pretty tepid, and it was almost like looking in the mirror a little bit, but we had slightly better quality, and maybe we had the home advantage. And someone did say to me it reeked a little bit of a championship game, but you know, when we're in these sorts of, was it you, Matt? I'm sure it was somebody said that to me. But by the by, you know, the boys, they equally as Burnley might be down on their laurels. We could be as well, but I didn't see that on Saturday. I see a team that still thought they could get something, still thought they could play, still trying to do the things, still had a bit of determination with them. Christie come back in. I thought he was brilliant everywhere he was. Like we were saying, he's like a little wind-up dog. You just wind him up and let him go, and he goes from one player to next player to next player, and he's just hunting down. And it really, even though he doesn't get you the numbers, there's something in that sort of it sort of galvanizes the rest of the players to come along with him and sort of get, you know, go along with that sort of work ethic. Because I thought that's where the first goal come from for us. It was Semenyo hunting the ball down, wins it, and he's in on goal and has a shot. And like we say, he is that sort of player who wants to come in and put his mark down and have a few shots, which we just a bit shy on the shoot in front of late. But I mean, their goal was that showed a lot of character actually to come back from that, because we could have dropped our heads massively, and it was really a pot shot from nowhere. But yeah, the boys did really well. They galvanised themselves after that, and there was only ever going to be one winner in my eyes.
Yeah, when I saw the lineup, Matt, I was wondering when my boy said, is it going to be a back 3 or a back 4? I think Lloyd Kelly's been immense for us the last couple of weeks. I said in that Wolves defeat that he showed leadership. We know he's been through adversity. I think he's got stronger. We know that potentially there was an option for him to consider a move, but the club didn't want to let him go. It was pivotal that we kept him. He had the captain's armband in Neto's absence. I thought he was fantastic again. I was not sure about seeing him at left back, but once I saw that rapid pace of that Burnley winger, I got it. So I think you got to hand that to Andoni. He got that tactically spot on. He got Semenyo in this side, and I said that in the preview last week, that I just felt like he's bullish, he's direct, he'll run, he'll shoot. That got us the equaliser. And I felt like once we got over that moment of going behind, we were the better side, and we looked so good. We'll talk about Alex Scott in a bit, but some really good leadership from Lloyd Kelly and some strong performances.
Yeah, absolutely, Kirk. And I think Steve's already mentioned it, but I think the thing that I found the most pleasing, really, and the most encouraging and positive was the fact of how we responded to going a goal down, because it would have been very easy at that point, not just us, but the crowd as well. I thought the crowd were impressive on Saturday. I thought we all stuck with the team. We all got behind the team. We didn't moan and groan too much, even though we went one down. It would have been easy to do that. and it certainly would have been easy for the players to do that. And to a man, they didn't do it. I thought Burnley played into our hands somewhat. I think obviously with a possession-based game that they play, they want to play out from the back, and I thought our high press onto them caused them problems all game. And that's probably ultimately what lost them the game. We were clearly the better side overall. I think they gave the ball away a lot, Burnley. They got away with it in the Championship. They run rings around teams last year with their style of football, but you're not going to be able to do that in the Premier League, as we've seen, unless you've got very, very good footballers like Manchester City. And unfortunately, Burnley aren't at that level. So I think they did play into our hands somewhat with the way that our style of football, our high press and our high tempo and pressing them high up the pitch. And that resulted in the 2 goals, didn't it, really? But there were some real plus points, Kirk. Like you say, Lloyd Kelly being one, taking the captain's armband again, a really impressive display against a really quick winger as well. And he managed him very well. He managed to get him behind him a couple of times, Lloyd, but overall he managed him superbly, I thought, because he's got pace and strength himself, as Kelly, as we know. I thought Aaron's had a good game on the other side. Chris Meffam come in. I thought he was solid. And also Semenyo, of course, up top. Had a great game as well. Was very busy. Alex Scott was a massive plus, and we'll come on to talk about him. But he looks like a real baller, doesn't he? He really does. More to come from him. So overall, the opposition wasn't great, and Burnley are going to struggle. And I think all 3 promoted teams look like they're going to really struggle when it comes to it. But we had to win the football match, and that's exactly what we did. And it was a great response from us, and it was a deserved victory. I mean, I know people said we rode our luck with the VAR and the decisions late on, but overall, we were by far the better team and could and should have won it by more, really. Really pleased.
John, you've said that before about the 3 promoted teams. Even if we don't win many football matches, we might still have a chance of staying up. But you don't mind really seeing the Cherries go behind, because at the start of the season, we seem to do okay when we go behind.
Well, we certainly don't do well when we score the first goal. Literally every single game we've scored the first goal this season, we've lost. We haven't even drawn a game when we've scored the first goal. That's how bad we've been when we've scored the first goal, or how quickly it's gone downhill, should I say. But yeah, it was, if anything, it was genius thinking by Iriola to give a guy that hasn't scored in 8 years the opportunity to score from the edge of the box, so that we have to come from behind and get points like we have been doing this season. But yeah, that start where, we had a couple of opportunities, nothing major, but we certainly looked like the dominant side, to then concede in the way that we did to Charlie Taylor's good strike, but very unfortunate that Alex Scott wasn't able to get a block in, having looked back again. I think it goes through his legs when he goes to try and block it. To then to have the players not drop, and I do think that we've had questions about their mentality recently. And for them to really kick back into gear pretty darn quickly, have that Tavernier chance that he manages to somehow not put in the back of the net pretty darn soon after. And then within 5 minutes of that, you've got Semenyo putting the ball in the back of the net, who had a great performance. Props to the ref as well. I thought it would have been very lenient to give a foul for that one, but a different ref would have given a foul on that, because it was not a lot of pressure, and Charlie Taylor, I think, kind of just tripped under the pressure. But yeah, I do think, going back to the lineup, obviously we had. It's funny actually, the amount of stuff I saw online on Twitter about people talking about formation change. It's like, God, how many? What was it under Parker? How frustrated people were with the back 5 and wouldn't shut up about it. And now we were talking about, maybe back 3 you might sort things out for us. We've got the teams for it, but no, it was. I was glad to see the back 4. Lloyd Kelly was the perfect choice at left back, and the most important selection choice for me, given that Senesi was injured, was Chris Meffam coming in. I do think that it's been underrated how much we have missed him when you consider how iffy at times Zabani has been. The official AFC Bournemouth Twitter account did put out, the only Bournemouth player that's played every minute so far this season. Yeah. He hasn't deserved it. The corner that was for the Burnley goal, he puts that out for a corner under really no pressure when he doesn't need to. It's the small mistakes that he's making, along with some of the larger issues, particularly its defending set pieces, that has been worrying me about Zabarnyi. But to have Mepham come in, maybe got a bit lucky right at the end of the game to not give away a penalty. But I feel he just has a calmness. He adds a calmness to that defence. I really do feel he does help with that. And obviously Lloyd Kelly did really well at left back. And yeah, Alex Scott was something else. I did not expect to see him playing basically as a number 6. Because Billing and Christie were essentially 2/8s in that game for long periods. It really was Scott playing as the deep line player, really taking that ball, turning and running with it in midfield. And I just looked it up. Bournemouth actually have the second most successful dribbles per game in the league at the moment. And it's considering how we haven't created enough really for the pressure that we've applied to teams. It's great to see players like Tavernier coming back in, Scott playing the way that he has done, Christie trying his best to do it, Solanke always does, taking the ball and trying to take on their man, get past a player. And it's really starting to open up games for us. And it really showed, I think, towards the start of that, sort of the first 20, 25 minutes of that second half, how effective our press was, how good our players was at just taking the ball and just continually applying pressure to Burnley. It was great to see.
So that's what all the hype is about at the moment, Steve. And let's talk about Alex Scott. We heard about the hype when we signed him. I did a sort of chat with a journalist that had followed him through Guernsey to Bristol City, and he said, "You've got a player." I'm pinching myself now. We got to see a few glimpses last week. He probably wasn't fit enough to play last week, but Andoni didn't really have a choice. He had even less of a choice this week, and he played him at DM. I don't want Alex Scott at DM, but I thought he was fantastic on Saturday. And the way he backs himself, Steve, to control the ball, get himself out of tight situations, take on a player, both-footed, 20 years of age, right? We've got to enjoy every moment with this kid. He can be the shining light. And the minute we get a proper CDM behind him, I mean, we could be a proper football side.
Yeah, ideally, you don't want to utilise him that deep. I mean, that's obvious. But I'm not surprised at all, because I seen him a few times last season, and there was a lot of chat about him. And obviously, when we were linked, I did a bit more watching of him, and I thought, when you just know, when you see a player and you just think this guy's good, you just can see it looks like a really composed footballer. And that was, that was the most shocking thing. Then you get told how old he is, and you think, Christ, if he's this good at this age, how good can he? Where's the ceiling with him? And you're right. I mean, I wasn't expecting so much so quickly from him, I must be honest, because he's been out for quite a while. But the intelligence he's got to just drift into pockets of space and be so calm, composed, have real good quality, very rarely lost the ball. I mean, he looked like he'd been playing in the Premier League for, 5-6 years, but, not his second game. I just can't give the guy enough plaudits. He was man of the match for me. Why Billing gets it, but for me, Alex Scott run that game. I thought he was, he was integral to what we did all afternoon. And we're not blessed with a lot of not a lot of our first choice midfielders at the minute, but he is definitely one that we need to wrap up in cotton wool and really nurture along in his development, because he will have, not so good days. He's still young, remember. It's not like we got to pin all our hopes on him and demand too much for him. But, he has set the bar quite high already, in my opinion. But, I did say to him, I still think he's got a little bit of the Gaza to him as well. I just think he's got that little injection of pace. He can go past the player. He's got quick feet. I think he's our best bit of business throughout the summer, and I'm really excited to see where he goes.
Yeah, Matt. And next weekend it might be Grealish versus Alex Scott, and you never know. In a few years' time, it could be Alex Scott, Grealish, and Bellingham setting the international stage alight. I can't quite believe we've got this kid. He was, like Steve said, don't get carried away. You want to, don't get carried away, but the talent, I saw enough last week. This week he was even better, and he picked up that CDM role. He carried the team at times, and he got us up the pitch.
Yeah, what I liked about him the most is not just what he could do with the ball at his feet, but his football brain for somebody so young, 20 years old. He knows he's just come back from a long-term injury. So if you watched him throughout the game, he was picking and choosing his moments. He knew when to sit back. He knew what maybe his limitations were on the day. He's only just come back, so he knew he had to manage the game. He was needed for 90 minutes. Clearly, as Areola said, he's probably. He's put him back in ahead of time, hasn't he? So he said to him, "Look, I need to get 90 minutes out of you, so I'll leave you to manage your game effectively." And I thought he got it spot on. And it wasn't just what he did with the ball at his feet; he did the basics so well. His positioning was great. When he picked up the ball in midfield, just a simple pass now and again. The basics were done so good. And then when it was on for him to have a dribble and to create something and to thread a ball through, he did that as well. So for me, not just his technical ability, but his footballing brain for somebody so young, and his maturity even on the pitch was astounding, really, for somebody that's just stepped up a level to the Premier League. And yeah, really, really impressed. I think we have got a hell of a player on our hands, who obviously one day is clearly going to move on from us, but we'll reap the benefits while we can. And it's a great bit of business for me to have got that one over the line, because there's no doubt there was a lot of competition in the summer. Can't speak highly enough of him. Yes, we've got to manage him. We've got to wrap him up in cotton wool a little bit, make sure we keep him fit, and obviously utilise him in higher up the pitch when we can, when we do actually get a CDM that can fill the 6 role, because that's where he's going to do his most damage in the 8 role for me. He's absolutely tailor-made and perfect for that role. So I can't wait to see him higher up the pitch, and I can't wait to see more of the lad, because Saturday just showed us a glimpse, didn't it, really, of what the future holds there.
Can I just add that it's not what else he does is he can put a decent cross in as well.
Yeah. He's got it all, hasn't he? He's got it all in his locker. Future's
not
bright.
bad from a free kick. He wasn't far away with that either.
It was so good to see some decent balls in the box. I mean, I think Mepham probably could have had a goal. He didn't really commit to the header, but it was a great ball into the box. Some love for Alex Scott in the chat from Omid, Matt, Morgan. They're loving it. Some more love, though, for Bournemouth players, John. Is a player that in the last 2 weeks has played in a more natural position. He looks like he's enjoying his football again. You know who I'm talking about, John. It's Philip Billing. He scored from 42 yards. Quick thinking. Intercepted the ball with that press, saw the goalkeeper off the line, and I think it's the furthest goal scored in the Premier League so far. Philip Billing, it was the winner. Andoni was Vamos, and it was great to see us take the lead late on in the game. Mute.
I just realised I'm on mute. But yeah, it was. I do feel, as much as it did very much seem like Christie and Billing were playing as the 2 8s. It certainly Billing was definitely the deeper of the two. Generally, Christie actually probably is certainly had a really good go of pressing, particularly the goalkeeper for periods. But Billing was just picking up the right sort of spaces. When I was talking earlier on in the season, sort of in pre-season, this was the role that I envisioned Billing having, because he was still the second deepest midfielder. He wasn't as deep as Scott, and he wasn't playing quite as high as Christie, but he was helping out defensively, but also getting forward and being involved in attacks. Now, obviously, he wasn't getting necessarily into the box in the same way that I hope he does further into the season. But obviously, this goal comes from a good press and a terrible attempt at a pass from the right back Vitinha, but was intercepted. And I mean, they've spoken about it already. In fact, it was the same thing that I think was spoken about by when, obviously, unfortunately, Harry Kane's goal from inside his own half has somewhat eclipsed Billing's attempt. But exactly the same thing was said in the post-match in that game as it was in this one. They had identified the keeper takes a high line, and if the opportunity comes, look up and go for it. And in this instance, there's been a lot of stick given to James Trafford, who maybe doesn't cover himself in glory, but he's playing in the way that his manager wants him to. It's the manager's fault that he's in that position, and the right back just sells him completely short. But you need to be good enough to execute the goal. And he's almost, if James Trafford is like 2 inches taller, he maybe just about tips it around the post, but if anything, he kind of helps it in at the end. But it's a great attempt. Great goal. Massive for us, obviously. And the thing is that it was starting to look like that was the only way we were going to get a goal anyway. Because, like, I don't remember really too many other opportunities in the second half that we really created. We dominated the ball. We were in really good positions for a lot of the time, but there wasn't really the cutting edge that you felt as though we really should be getting. I mean, there was a Solanke sort of flick attempt at the near post, which kind of was a little bit tame from a cross, but it was nice to see a lot of crosses coming in. But that wasn't fantastic. And then apart from that, I'm really struggling, apart from the Alex Scott free kick, to come up with too many other really anywhere near decent opportunities for us in the second half. So it needed to be something special. So that's where sort of like the caveats come in this victory. Obviously, the level of opposition, but then you've also got to consider, like, we didn't hit even 1.5 XG in that game. And considering sort of the territory that we had, I'd expect us to do better. But as you said, as we said before, you can't look too negatively upon the first real hint of progression and positivity that we've had so far this season, in the league anyway, for certain.
Steve, Wing's talking about in the chat about turning over the ball, and if we're really good at turning over the ball, if we've got the likes of Tyler Adams in there, we could be even more effective. Do you know what it was, Steve, when we turned over that ball from that poor pass? Was when you look back now and watch the highlights, you're like, if Billing doesn't score there, you've got like 4 on 3. It's one of those moments, and it's like, thankfully he did score, but you don't think about it at the time sometimes. But yeah, we were in a really good position to really counter on them, but great thinking from Billing, took his chance.
Yeah, and what it does do is it gets him up and running for the season, because that's his, we've said year on year that we really need Billing's assists and goals, and they've been an integral part of our play for the last couple of seasons. Now he's up and running, hopefully. There was a comment he made, I think the other day, I don't know if he's getting all his politics mixed up with his football at the moment, but whatever he was unhappy about, I hope that goal's, cheered him up no ends, because it certainly cheered up the whole of Dean Court, didn't it? So, but yeah, it's great to see. We've been harping on about it since the beginning of the season, that he does his best work when he's more advanced, and it's it doesn't take an idiot to work it out. The last 2 weeks, he's chipped in with an assist and a goal because he's been playing in that position. And like you say, when we turn that ball over, and it's like, go back to the Christie thing, I know what people say about his numbers, but I think when you've got that sort of energy in your press, and it just galvanizes the rest of them to sort of come along with you. And I thought we were great at it all afternoon, albeit, like we said before, Burnley weren't great, but a win's a win, and that's all we had to do, really. It didn't matter how it came. We just needed to get the job done and get that monkey off Iriola's back. I mean, it's a shame it's come when it's come, because you can't see that. Well, it's going to be a big ask in the next game to follow that up. But it goes to show that the players can take some belief out of what he's telling them, and this system can reap benefits. We just got to be better at it. And I think with a few good performances in there from people we haven't seen of late, and go back to it, like the Mephams, and playing Kelly at left back and bringing Christie back in for that energy. Alex Scott's a revelation, Billing further forward. It's all starting to come into place a bit better now. So yeah, hopefully it's more of the same in a few weeks' time, hopefully.
Matt, and a quick mention for Radu, who got his first Premier League appearance, made a big save at the end. And Mark Travers was on the bench, as we spoke about earlier in this stream. I thought there was some good vibes in the warm-up, seeing Mark Travers back. The fans were getting behind Radu in support, and he had an okay game. He's going to be in goal on Wednesday against Liverpool, which we're coming up to talk about very, very soon, because we know that Mark Travers is cup-tied. But look, he did all right. I don't think he's a better goalkeeper than Neto, but we definitely needed a fresh pair of gloves in that goal on Saturday.
Yeah, I thought he did everything that he needed to do, really, Radu. I would like to see him grow as he gets more games, grow in confidence. Like to see him maybe command his box a bit better, be a bit more vocal maybe, and really put his stamp on things as a commanding goalkeeper. But that's me being a little bit picky. I thought he did everything that he needed to do. Him obviously pulled off a great save at the end. didn't really put too much of a foot or a hand wrong at all. Really, I thought the back four seemed to have assurance from him. They look fairly confident and fairly settled, and with him behind them. And his post-match interview, he seems like a real character, doesn't he? So I think there's more to come from him, definitely. But yeah, he did everything that we've asked him to do. Mark Travers obviously comes back into the building, and if I was Mark Travers, I'd be wanting to play. The fact that I've been called back from Stoke, where I'm really on a good run of form. I'm popular with the club. I'm popular with the fans. I'm playing in front of 20,000+ fans every time. To be called back just to sit on the bench wouldn't really sit well with me. So he's obviously come back to compete for the number one spot, Travers, isn't he, at the appropriate time. So it'll be interesting to see how that pans out between the two of them. Remembering that Neto is only out until the next international break, apparently, with his so-called injury. So it's going to be interesting to see how that situation evolves now, isn't it, between the three keepers, to see what happens going forward, because all three of them are going to be vying for that spot massively. So who comes out on top with it is going to be really intriguing. But yeah, Radu was quite impressed on Saturday. Yeah, didn't really do anything wrong. Just did what he needed to do, and hopefully more to come.
There is some sort of conversations going on in the chat about the last 10 minutes. There was a goal disallowed from Rodriguez. We know that VAR mismanagement right there took about 5 minutes and some. And we do want to crack on with this stream and get talking about Liverpool on Wednesday and Manchester City. And we haven't got 4 hours to talk about VAR. We know it's a mess. We know they keep messing it up. Fortunately, the result went our way on Saturday and it was offside. So at the end of the day, we'll think we'll just leave it there, guys. But what that did mean was that the Cherries finished outside of the dotted line at the end of the weekend, 17th. And we will then go into 2 massive games this week, starting on Wednesday, guys, against Liverpool in the Carabao Cup 4th round. We've had a few games against Liverpool in the League Cup previously in 2014 and 2015. Didn't get the results that day. John, Liverpool, I think, are the highest holders of this competition in its history, won the League Cup the most times. I think under Jurgen Klopp, they've had a couple of finals, semi-finals. They've not always got really far in this competition. They might switch up their team a little bit, but it is Liverpool on Wednesday. I'm going to come to a predicted lineup in a bit. I've actually changed it about 7 times because I can't decide whether we go strong or we do switch it up and get some of the fringe players into the side. But it is the Carabao Cup on Wednesday and an opportunity to grow from Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, it's an opportunity. How good of an opportunity it is, we'll have to wait and see. Obviously, discussion we can have about what we change around. Obviously, I'd imagine Liverpool will make a bunch of changes as well. Obviously, you got the likes of Mo Salah didn't, or at least if he did, he came on very late in the Europa League game. They had midweek. They've obviously, because they're in Europe, they've got plenty of midweek games as well. So they'll be switching things up as well. I'm sure you'll see the likes of Endo probably starting. Maybe even Jota probably get a bit more game time. Tsimikas at left back. These kinds of the less established players for Liverpool. So it gives us an opportunity, if we want to go stronger, to actually really take it to them. I mean, you saw how we did it against them away from home earlier in the season, where we were aggressive from the off, got that first goal, and just weren't able to maintain that high press. And it was the looseness of that really sort of helped start to capitulate the progress that we've made in that game. But yeah, it's you've got to look at Iraola's record in cup competitions as well. I mean, even in his first job, I think, what was it, in Cyprus or Greece, whichever part of the Mediterranean was when he got his first job, went through a similar issue that he's been going with Bournemouth. He pretty much didn't win a league game, but was flawless in the cup competitions, and they eventually had to let him go because of league form. Look at what he did with Rayo Vallecano 2 seasons in a row. He got them to the semi-final of Copa del Rey. So he quite likes a cup. It does Iraola. So we'll have to wait and see what happens here. I'd imagine he will make a good few changes. There's no way he can play Alex Scott in this game, and you'd imagine you probably see Kirk has come back in. I'd imagine you'll see Smith start. Radu, we know, is going to start. Might see Kiefer Moore start. There's plenty of fringe players that could have an opportunity to play, but it will be interesting. You could imagine, I could certainly see Rothwell starting as maybe even as the deepest lying midfielder. But I think if you look at the, I was furious with him in the end of that, towards the end for that Rodriguez chance, because you look at him, he's the one that completely loses Nathan Redmond to set the ball through for Rodriguez for the chance that got caught offside. Because he's not. It's just people talking about CDM. He's just not. I was saying this the entire week before that game. So to see him just lose his man like that was so frustrating, and it almost massively cost us. So if he is going to play, I'd prefer him not to be the deepest one. You may even see Kilkenny play next to Rothwell. Could see them, two of them playing together. So it's an opportunity. But we can just treat it as a free hit, because that's what we should be doing. There should be no expectations that we beat Liverpool in this stage of the cup competition, and just try and enjoy the ride.
Oh, that's a dangerous couple of words. Free hit. Not sure you're allowed to say that too often. But Steve, what we do know is that Liverpool beat Leicester in the previous round 3-1. We beat Swansea. Then we beat Stoke 2-0. Rothwell got on the score sheet. And what I was looking at, Steve, was round 4, the fixtures. And you will actually find out, or we will see, 4 Premier League teams lead this competition as it enters the quarterfinals. And if we can find a way of getting past Liverpool, we could have a little eye on a semi-final visit.
Yeah. But you've still got the likes of Arsenal, Newcastle, Chelsea. There's still some big names in there. Look, I know it'd be great. I mean, personally, I think he obviously will make some changes. But if you imagine they're not awful changes, if you see what I mean. That's the wrong way of putting it. But do you know what I mean? When you really put like a bunch of youngsters in, maybe some, like John sort of said, like Rothwell. I think give Mep some more game time. See Smithy come in. There's some experience there, and we've got plenty of players up top who need game time, who should take it as an opportunity to try and grasp a place. We haven't seen Clivert for a few weeks. We haven't really seen much of Sinistera. These are games tailor-made for them to put a mark on the squad. Imagine if we beat Liverpool. Yeah, David Brooks is another one. Imagine if we beat Liverpool, what that does for the morale. Because, like John said, they will make changes. They won't be at full strength, and you never know. We could, going into the Man City game, what a high that would sort of cause. Upsetting a team like Liverpool. Traore is an interesting one. Ray just brought it up there, but I don't really know what's going on with him, because he seems to be completely out of favour. So I don't think he may be on the bench, but I don't think he'll start. I don't know what the problem is there. But they're going to be there they're going to be there to have a go at. They're not going to be. They'll probably play their reserve keeper, Kelleher. So there will be an opportunity. And like I say, an opportunity for players to stake a place.
So Travers is cup tied. We know that. Sinistera is also cup tied. I'm confident of that. It's an interesting conversation about Lewis Cook.
Someone said about Lewis Cook. Yeah, he's cupped. The cup games do count to his ban.
I thought it did, and it's not in my predicted 11. So I hope I've got that right. So Matt, Charlie Lanners also says, surely Traore plays. Should we do it, Matt? Should we see what I've gone for? I have changed this so much today, by the way, Matt. So let me show you my predicted 11. This is on Fan Hub. You can join the Fan Hub community for free. Link in the description. Cherries Red Army will help you get instant access to the app. Play along. You can do your own predicted lineups. You can get points and also have chances to be rewarded throughout the season. So jump onto it, and there's lots of other stuff you can do in there, including checking in on match days as well. So Matt, I've got Radu in goal. I've got Smudge at right back. I'm keeping Chris Smith in for more game time. Senesi, Kirkes, Rothwell Christie, David Brooks more central, Dangu Tara off the right, Justin Clivert off the left, Dom Solanke up top. Seriously, I've changed this about 5 times today. That's what I've gone for.
Yeah, I don't think you'd be a million miles away from that. I think it is a delicate balance for Iriola to strike, isn't it? Because he you definitely can't play Alex Scott. There's certain players he's got to manage in this squad at the moment. You don't want him getting injured. I mean, Solanke's another one that would make me nervous. If we lose Solanke, then we're in real trouble in the Premier League, as we know. The precarious situation that we find ourselves in the league at the moment means that he has got to be really careful. But on the other hand, like Steve said, you don't want to be going to the Etihad, having been spanked by Liverpool a few days earlier. That really is going to sink confidence and morale a little bit, having just dragged it out of the mud on Saturday against Burnley. So it's such a delicate balance to strike. I think Iraola does like the cup competitions. He wants to have a go, and as a club, we're a Premier League club. We should be having a go at it. We're at home. Liverpool, as the boys have said, will make changes. So why can't we have a go at them? But there is that balance to strike, as always, and it's a delicate balance. And I think with the team that you've selected there, Kirk, debatably there could be one or two positions there. Does Solanke start? It would be one of them. Does Brooks play in the 10? Would you play with Tara, who it's been shocking I mean, that was a baffling decision. I think we were chasing the game on Saturday. I think it was still 1-1 when he brings Ouattara on, and I'm thinking, you really need a winger that's going to run at this defence. Is Ouattara the man? Because he's in no sort of form. Is he your best pick out of all the players to bring on that's going to unlock and open things up for you? Probably not. Luckily, Phil Bill's improvisation meant we won the game, but it certainly was through no contribution of Ouattara, and he's out of form at the moment. So there is a debate to be had over certain positions, but I think on the balance of it, Kirk, what you've gone with there might well be around about right, because players do need game time, like Justin Kluivert, we haven't seen for a little bit. David Brooks definitely needs it. Joe Rothwell needs it as well. Probably Ryan Christie as well. He's got energy, boundless energy in it, so you'd like to think that he'll be good for another shift in the middle of the park. So Kirk has to come back in, and I think it's probably about right. So it's striking that balance, but I think we have just got to go as strong as we possibly can, and just try and go for it on Wednesday night and give them the best game that we can, really.
Yeah, I have put Joe Rockwell in there, John. I know we just spoke about him a few minutes ago, but I do feel like it's the Carabao Cup and it's an opportunity to put him in. I like Joe Rothwell. I just want someone more solid alongside him. But I've got Ryan Christie in there, and he can just do a job. He does a job, and he runs and he runs and he runs. Any thoughts on that predicted lineup for this game against Liverpool on Wednesday? Because some fans are just going, go for it big, throw Saturday against Man City. Mute.
Sorry. To a degree, yeah. I do think that if there was, admittedly, it is away at Man City, so if there was ever a game to just not really be too concerned about, it's probably that one. But then I think we probably would have said similar things last year about that City game, about the Liverpool game, and then we ended up losing the first one 4-0 and the second one 9-0, and that does nothing for your confidence. So I personally don't see Dom starting. I don't think you really can. I think you've got to take the opportunity to rest him.
I agree, John.
When you had the opportunity to, I would imagine keep more starting. I would certainly have Brooks there close to him. I've mentioned it before. If you're going to play Kiefer Moore, you've got to stop putting your wingers so wide and pull them in to support him, and make sure that when you go long, because you have to go long to Kiefer Moore, you put 3 players around him to win the drop downs, which is what we utterly fail to do. Whenever we play Kiefer Moore, the wingers stay wide, we hoof the ball up, and there's no one to win the second ball, which is a real frustration of mine for not just Iraola, but Gary O'Neill did it before as well. But yeah, I think most of that I'd agree with. And then, I mean, I mentioned Kilkenny. I think you could put him next to Rothwell. I think Christie is fair game there as well. He's just a hard worker. He has played that position already for us this season, and someone that will run around and hopefully, win the ball back in the middle of the park, which is what you want him to do. But you mentioned Rothwell playing there. We all know that he's better going forward, and you'd rather have him as an 8 or someone even as a 10. I'm not don't really like him being the deepest midfielder, but he kind of has to be in the current situation, unless you put Kilkenny there as well next to him, which you could do. But against this Liverpool side, I'd imagine even if it was a second 11, I'm not confident about our midfield being able to compete all that well. So we'll have to see what happens.
Yeah, Steve Wing asking if we can risk that many first teasers. I tell you what, in the chat, we might just skip the whole score predictions this week. 1 minute, Steve. We might just skip the whole score predictions this week, but do you think that Bournemouth will be in the quarter-final draw? So your 60-second warning for that. Yes or no? Do you think Bournemouth will be in the quarter-final draw? Charlie just spoke about it, Steve, about not giving Dom a rest, and I did consider it in my prediction. I know that Semenyo tried to play up top against Stoke. I don't think it worked. I think he's better wide. He might be naturally a striker, but I think he's doing better stuff for us wide. And although I don't have a massive issue with Kiefer Moore, I just feel we're not as effective unless, like Jon says, we can get some quick players alongside him to play off him.
Yeah, I'm with Jon on this. I wouldn't risk Dom. I wouldn't risk anyone who's fundamental to our starting 11.
I want to go to Wembley though.
Yeah, no, so do I. But I still think we've got good quality to bring in. You know, Kiefer Moore has caused, international defences loads of problems. He's caused Villa problems. He's caused Tottenham problems. He can certainly do a job if you give him the right service and do what we've talked about and what you guys have just said there. We need people in and around him to get the knockdowns, and we need good delivery into him. And he will get you goals. It's just that he hasn't been getting that. So everyone's saying, "Oh, he's not on it." Well, he proved that wrong. As soon as you do give him that service, he scores goals. He did it. He did against Tottenham last season, like I said, and he did it. I think did he score internationally the other day, not long ago?
Yeah, against some minnow on it, but he scored. Yeah.
Equally, give him service and the guy will score. I've no doubt of that. So I don't see him as that much of a risk if you just play to his strengths. And I just think that's, like Jon said, it's what we haven't been doing when we have used him. And it's a shame because it must be really frustrating for him. Yeah, does love a cup goal. But I just think, we've got Kluivert, Sinisterra, Brooks, Christie, all these players that can play forward and get in and around him who've got good quality. So I don't see it as Traore. We're not even talking about him. I can't believe we've got £25 million player that can't even get on the bench. That's where we are at the minute. So we can bring all this quality in. So I don't, as much as we're changing players, I don't think it's a massive drop off in quality because there's decent quality. We've got decent strength and depth now. So yeah, I would definitely go with Moore because I wouldn't want to see Dom get injured. I think that would be awful. I had my heart in my mouth last game when he went down against Stoke, and I was like, oh no, don't do that. It's the last thing we need him going down.
That's very true, actually. Good point.
So I still think he can do a job. And at the end of the day, most managers do prioritise the Premier League, don't they?
Yeah. So not a lot of confidence in the chat, but Liverpool are a good team and they've done well in cup competitions, but maybe a little win for the Cherries on penalties, maybe. Paul Mel's talking about potentially trying Kluivert up top, and I think we tried that in pre-season.
Yeah.
And yeah, we'll have to see what happens there. So we got Liverpool midweek. So if you go into the game, get behind the team. You never know. We might be able to do something in the cup. And then attentions will turn back to the Premier League at the weekend as we go to the Etihad to take on Manchester City. And we'll have a quick conversation about that in episode 16. But please do support this episode. Do hit the like button and subscribe to our channel because we're heading towards 2,000 subscribers. So yes, some Bournemouth fans will be making the journey up north as we take on Manchester City on Saturday. They destroyed their Manchester opposition, Manchester United, yesterday 3-0. It's not going to be an easy task, is it, Matt? I mean, Pep Guardiola's one hell of a coach and they're one hell of a side. They have only had 2 losses this season, both on the road against Wolverhampton Wanderers and Arsenal. No draws, Matt. No draws at all. And they're going to be very, very strong. We don't have a very good record against Manchester City. Never beaten them, never got a draw. But there's always hope, right?
It's always hope. I mean, you look at Brentford last year. Brentford go to the Etihad and win the football match. Nobody would have forecast that. These things can happen in football. They got it. You've got to, you've got a number of things have got to come together for us to get any sort of result on Saturday. We've got to have a good element or a good amount of luck. It's got to go with us. We've got to set up correctly. So the tactics have got to be spot on. The mindset has got to be spot on. So much has got to come together. Manchester City have got to have an off day. Obviously, they've got to get frustrated. We've got to frustrate them, and we've got to overperform ourselves. But as we've seen, football's a funny old game, as St. and Greaves used to say, or Jimmy Greaves used to say, and these things can happen, can't they? I personally, I can't see it on Saturday. I hate to use the word free hit. I think John's used it already. It is a free hit, really, for me. Manchester City are that good. I can't see us getting anything, but you have to go there confident, don't you? You have to. At the end of the day, we've earned the right to be in this division alongside them. So you've got to go there with, like you say, Kurt, with hope, and you've got to go there and confident that you can give them a game and you can take something from it. But it will be massively, massively difficult and massively challenging when you look at our squad pitted against theirs. How we're going to set up, which we all probably know how that's going to happen. That the style of play, what Iriol is all about, it's going to be difficult. It's going to be really, really tough. But for me, I think after this Liverpool game and the City game, Newcastle at home, I certainly wouldn't write off. I think we've got a real chance of getting something from that game, just due to the nature of it, with Eddie coming back and everything that brings. I think we can go into that game with some optimism, and then from then on, you look at the run we've got then, and there's some points to be had, and we're coming into a really critical period of the season after this Man City game. I think, with the exception of maybe Villa home, which is a tough one, but again, a game we can get something from. We've got teams, Sheffield United away and Luton's home and Forest away. All these teams that are going to be in and around us. Fulham home on Boxing Day, we're going to have to take some points from, because we're playing catch up already. So we are coming into a pivotal part of the season. But Saturday is as stern a test as you can get in world football, isn't it? Really. So let's see what happens. But let's go into it with some degree of hope at least.
Yeah, John, in recent times, we've had 13 matches against Manchester City, including one League Cup against them, 40 goals conceded, 7 scored. Erling Haaland, though, I don't think has scored against us, but he is doing it again in the Premier League. He scored at the weekend. We've got to try and stop him, but there is talent throughout that team. Me and Steve previously last season talked about Alvarez coming into the side, Phil Foden's quality. Yeah, we got to stop them, because if they get into a little bit of a roll early doors, then it could become a little bit of a cricket score.
Did Haaland not score us against us in our home fixture? I can't remember. He didn't score when he didn't score away, because when we went there, we locked him down. He assisted the first goal, but he didn't score.
I think he scored that goal. Yeah,
in our home fixture, I have a feeling.
Not the Etihad then.
Not the Etihad, no. But he did assist the first goal for Gundogan, which started the cascade in the end. It's the worst game of the season. Like, Liverpool is probably second or third in that list, but away to Manchester City is the worst game of the season. So you can hope for it, you can pray for it, you can gamble on it, but it's the closest to what's the point you can get as an away fan, I feel like, is going to Man City. But it's with the style that we've got under Iriolo, we're in our best suited position to get something from this game. I truly believe the way that we play now puts us in the most kamikaze we can be, but in that 1% of games where it all clicks, this is probably the best chance that we've got, because we've got the most quality we've ever had, I think, as a Premier League squad, arguably, but I think we are there, just missing a few injuries, obviously. And we've got a manager that, if things work well, he's already proven that he can beat Real Madrid and Barcelona with a rather average side in Vallecano. So I don't see it. I wouldn't be surprised if it's another 4-0. But there's that one chance in 1,000 where we might pick up a 1-0 win. Hell, Wolves managed to score 2 goals with 1 shot on target in their victory. So, it's anything can happen. That is the joy of football. But I actually completely forgot about tickets for this one. So despite the fact that it's actually only a few miles away from me,
on your doorstep.
It's on my doorstep, and I don't have a ticket for it. So I'm going to be waiting to see what gets if there's any returns, which I doubt it. But to be honest, I'm probably going to sit here and listen to the goals come in and go, well, at least I don't have that walk home.
Okay, it's great to have this Monday night stream. Let's throw a little quiz right at the end, and John and Matt can have a think about this quiz question as I get Steve's thoughts on Manchester City. So your quiz question for the interactive chat: we have scored 7 goals since the Premier League against Manchester City, and we've had 7 different goal scorers. Can we get them all? So in the interactive chat, go. Green light is on. Steve, going to be a tough ask. You're going to make the journey up to the Etihad. It would be nice to maybe take the lead. We've done that before, I think. So, yeah.
I'd give one of them away.
I may have done. I didn't say the name. I just
I could have given it
right
away
at the end. I nearly did. But what you're thinking after this Liverpool game? Hopefully, we get a good result in the cup, and then we go to the Etihad. I'm not going to say 3 hit because that'll be 3 times. It's been said, but it's going to be a tough game.
No, I'm not a big fan of that free hit analogy. It's one of them, isn't it? It's like John said, it's the worst bloody game of the season. We've never had a sniff there. We've never looked like winning a game there. But having said that, somebody does always turn them over every season at their place. Unfortunately, Wolves have already done it this season. And so I think it was Wolves done it this season. Was it Brentford last season? Then Crystal Palace did it the year before that. And
yeah,
so they're not infallible. I mean, the only thing I say about they lost 2 games this season, both of those were without Rodri. Unfortunately, he's back now. And they looked pretty phenomenal against Man United, albeit a very disjointed Man United on the weekend. They looked like they were getting up to speed this season. So it is a bit ominous. But there's always a chance. You never know. You can go up there. Something can go our way. Whether it could be a card or a penalty or something like that. Well, actually, no, there won't be a penalty. What am I saying? Never a penalty for us. That's madness.
Don't be stupid, Steve.
I know. Did you see that Twitter thing that some Spurs poke put up today?
Oh, God, yeah. Did you see the blood of Bournemouth fans underneath it going, I think you'll find.
It was mad. But yeah, I think we just go it. Yeah. Okay, I'll use the phrase, it's a free hit, we might as well have a pop at them. Because, you're not going to defend for 90 minutes against, and let them have the ball. They just will carve you apart. So we might as well get about them, try and disrupt their rhythm. Don't give them time on the ball. And I think that's probably the most effective way to play against them. I think Liverpool have had quite a lot of success pressing them. I think that's the way Palace got about them, and Brentford for that matter. Wolves was a bit more counter-attacking, but let's have a go. It's cost me enough to go up. I'd love it if I, finally get. I've been there about a 3rd time now. Something due a win. We're due a win against them. Come on.
We have scored 7 times against them. Right, let's rattle through them. I haven't disabled the chat, but Matt, got any goal scorers? 7 goal scorers. We have scored 7 times against Manchester City. What you got?
I've got 4 definites.
Premier League.
Yeah, I've got
and EFL Cup.
EFL Cup. I've got 4 definites. So I've got David Brooks, Harry Wilson, Charlie Daniels, and Glenn Murray. They're definites because I can remember those goals.
Yeah. So 3 left.
Josh King.
No. John, you got anything?
Sam Surridge in the EFL Cup. Yeah. He was the first one that came to mind.
Yeah. Steve, we've got Sam Surridge, David Brooks, Harry Wilson, Charlie Daniels, Glenn Murray. We've got 2 more, and we have had them in the chat.
Yeah, I was thinking
Callum Wilson.
Yeah.
1 more that I haven't ticked off.
The most recent goal against him was Lerma.
Yes.
Mark
was that the COVID one?
Yeah. No, that was last season. That was last season. 4-1 at home defeat. Lerma with the consolation.
Yeah.
Somebody's put there Blissett, Lawrence, and Bishop. That was the 3-3, and 1989, I think.
Yeah,
It
I
was.
was going
That
from
was
the Premier
before
League,
football
really.
started.
You can watch.
Yeah.
You can watch that on YouTube. That game.
Yeah,
All
yeah.
the highlights
Yeah.
of it.
3-0 down we were. Drew
Half time,
3-3.
wasn't it?
Newford Blissett penalty. Yeah. Brilliant.
What a weekend for the Cherries. What a week coming for the Cherries. It's a great moment for Andoni Iraola. He looked absolutely delighted at the end, guys, to see that the Cherries have got a win and the hard work. It's been a tough 10 Premier League games. He's not had all the tools available to him. I think in the main, the fans have been behind him. The next couple of weeks, couple of games are games where we can just attack them, see what happens. And then there's games coming round the corner against Newcastle at home and Sheffield United, where we've got real opportunity to get more points on the board. And even through this tough spell, we've just got one win and we're outside the relegation zone. That just tells you everything you need to know. Matt, it's been another great interaction. YouTube. This will be on the podcast as well. Great moment to talk about a win. It's nice. It's what we've needed. Thank you very much. And your final thoughts?
Yeah, thanks, Kirk, for having me. Always a pleasure. Thanks to everybody that watches, that subscribes, that supports the channel. Thanks for all the debate in the chat. Great to have, great to be part of. Thoughts are that we've got the win. I think this is a difficult period coming up now. I just think we've just got to give it our all. I think if we are going to lose these couple of games coming up, it's about losing them.
The manner.
Dare I say it? It's the manner in which we lose them. Let's go into them and give it a real go. That's all we can do. That's all we ask as Bournemouth fans. That's all we've ever asked is for the players to give 100%, and the manager to do his best, and the coaching staff to do absolutely their best. And that's all we can hope for. And then hopefully we come out of this little spell and start picking up some. If we haven't picked up any points, start picking them up again, because that. Like I said, I'll repeat, we're coming into a really pivotal spell after certainly from the Newcastle game onwards, leading up to Christmas, where we're going to need to pick up some serious points, I think. So, let's see what the next few weeks brings. But whatever happens, win, lose or draw, we've got to stay behind the team as well now, like we did Saturday. Really impressed with the crowd again. Like I said, Saturday I thought we were great. Got behind the team, we were patient, stuck behind Iraola. And it seemed united in the stands and on the pitch. There seemed to be a united front there, and that's what we've got to continue with.
Steve, you did say last week it might not be a complete turning point, but a win absolutely brings lots of confidence into the team, smiles, and that can take into what we're going to see this week. And like you said, it might be mainly down to just what we do in a performance this week, and then we get back to really focusing on really drilling in on wins again. But thank you for this evening. Your final thoughts?
Yeah, thanks for having me, mate. Always a pleasure to come on. I mean, I'll just echo what Matt said about the crowd at Dean Court on Saturday. I thought it was brilliant at times. It's the best I've seen it this season, and that's even before it could have got a bit nasty when we went 1-0 down. But I thought the crowd really rallied, and there was points in that game where we were constantly singing for 20, 25 minutes, that Iraola song. And my hands were red raw from clapping so much. So I think the fans are still believing in this project. And that's, like Matt said, that's all we can do. And yeah, just carry it on. And things will develop. Things will get better. The formation, the system, all of this stuff, the more games, the more times we practice it, the better we'll get at it. Simple. It's what I tell my kids. Practice makes perfect. And you just got to keep practicing, plugging away, and you'll reap your rewards eventually. I just hope that he's given the time, and that nobody does anything knee-jerk from above. Because we've all said we can see what he's trying to do. It's just, having those tools and a bit of fortune, goes your way and you get a result here and there. So let's, hopefully we get one on Wednesday, but if we don't, I'm sure the next one will be not too far around the corner.
Thank you, Steve. Might see you Wednesday. Safe trip up north on Saturday. And John, we really got to start picking up with this Alex Scott song. We got to take it from Bristol City. It's meant to be an absolute cracker. We got to get behind that because we really need more songs. No, I need to learn it. But John, there might be hope for you yet that you might be at the Etihad on Saturday. Thank you for this evening. Your final thoughts?
I mean, I'm not As if we can get a half decent song going about some players, I'd appreciate that.
What's wrong with Radu?
I'm fed up with the Paella song, to be honest, on that one on its own. But yeah, it's tough being a Bournemouth fan getting an original football song together. Quite like the Man City one, fans, but talking about Man United falling down, that was a good one. I don't know whether anyone caught that on Twitter, but yeah, just as the boys have said, just to keep getting behind the team. And we mentioned it when things were crap, so you've got to do it when things are starting to turn around as well. And yeah, if we don't get any points for the next few games, it's hardly the end of the world. We've shown that we can win. It's just about finding and taking the next opportunity. That's not really the case in the next. It might be against Liverpool. It's probably not against City, but we have a good chance against Newcastle. And Matt rattled off some of the games coming up where we really need to sort of start putting those wins together. So for the time being, we'll enjoy this, have a bit of fun, hopefully in the League Cup, see what we get against City, and then push on for the rest of the season.
Thank you very much. Thank you to you, the fans, who's joined us interactively on YouTube and Twitter. If you've watched this back on replay, thank you so much. Do put your comments in there. Love to read all of them. If you've listened to this on the podcast, also get behind that platform. Do what you've got to do to rate Cherries Red Army and help that grow. But it's an interesting week. The taste of a Premier League win. We've missed it. It's there, and hopefully we can grow. I'm hopeful that we can do something on Wednesday against Liverpool, at least take them very far in that game. And let's see what happens at the head-to-head. At least put a performance in that we can be proud of. From me, John, Steve, and Matt, thank you for joining us. Do enjoy the rest of your week. Take care wherever you are in the world, and we'll see you on the next one. Up the cherries.
Up the cherries.
Up the cherries.